The thing that decides whether your Japanese engine dies at 120,000 miles or sails right past 300,000 is not the brand. It is not the price you paid, and it is not luck. It is what you do in the first 60 seconds after you turn the key. And almost everyone, including people who have driven for 40 years, gets it completely wrong. Worse, the habits most drivers think are protecting their engine are the exact habits quietly grinding it into an early grave. By the time the damage shows up on the dipstick or in a repair quote, it has been building for years. I have been a mechanic for 23 years, and if there is one thing I have learned standing over cold engines on freezing mornings, it is that the most expensive damage I see almost never comes from hard driving or high mileage. It comes from a handful of innocent little morning rituals that people swear by. The good news is that every single one of them is free to fix. You do not need a tool, a part, or a dollar. You just need to know what is actually happening under that hood in the first 2 minutes. And today, I am going to walk you through all of it. I am saving the single most damaging mistake for last, because I would bet money you are making it every morning and you think it is the responsible thing to do. Stick around for that one. Let's get into it. Before I get to the mistakes, you need to understand one simple truth, because everything else flows from it. A cold start is the single hardest moment in your engine's entire life. When your car has been sitting overnight, almost all of the oil has drained down out of the top of the engine and back into the oil pan at the bottom. The camshafts, the valve train, the bearings up top, they are sitting there essentially dry with nothing but a thin residual film protecting them. The metal is cold, the clearances are wrong, and the fuel mixture is rich. Engineers and mechanics widely agree that the majority of all engine wear happens in those first moments after startup, not out on the highway. So when I tell you these morning habits matter, understand that you are not protecting your engine somewhere down the road. You are protecting it in the most violent 10 seconds it experiences all day. Now let's get into exactly what you are doing wrong. Number 7 is the long warm-up that is slowly killing your engine. And I am starting here because this is the one that is going to start arguments in the comments. If you are sitting in your driveway every single morning, letting your Toyota or your Honda idle for 5, 10, even 15 minutes before you drive, I need you to hear me. You are not protecting your engine. You are actively causing it harm. Now, your father was not wrong. This advice made perfect sense back in the 1980s when a Corolla had a carburetor and a manual choke. Those old engines ran badly cold, they stalled, and the oil of that era turned to sludge in freezing temperatures. Letting them sit and warm up genuinely helped. But here is what changed. Every Japanese car built since roughly 1990 used electronic fuel injection. There is a computer managing the fuel mixture based on temperature dozens of times a second. There is no choke. There is nothing for you to warm up manually. And while that engine sits there idling, 3 bad things are happening at the same time. The computer is running a rich mixture to heat up the catalytic converter, and that extra raw fuel acts like a solvent. If solvent, washing the protective oil film right off your cylinder walls. Some of that fuel slips past the piston rings and drips down into your oil pan, thinning out the very oil that is supposed to be protecting everything. And because an idling engine barely produces any heat, it can take 15 to 20 minutes to actually reach operating temperature just sitting there. If you drive gently instead, the engine warms up several times faster because it is working under load and producing real heat. This is not just my opinion. AAA, the major engineering studies, even the manufacturer's own owner's manuals all say the same thing. Start it. Give it 30 to 60 seconds while you buckle your seatbelt and adjust your mirrors, and then just drive. gently, but drive. Number 6 is revving the engine right after you start it cold. This one makes me wince every time I hear it in my parking lot. That bark of someone blipping the throttle on a stone-cold engine because they think it helps wake it up. Remember what I just told you. When the engine has sat overnight, the top end is dry. When you hit that start button, it takes several seconds for the oil pump to push oil up from the pan, through all the narrow passages, to reach the camshafts and the bearings at the very top. In serious cold, it can take even longer. Now picture what you are doing if you start that engine and immediately rev it to 3,000 or 4,000 RPM. You are forcing maximum stress on parts that have no oil film protecting them yet. The pistons are cold and not yet at their designed shape. The cylinder walls are tight. The bearing clearances are wrong because the metal has not expanded to where the engineers intended. On a Honda with VTEC, the computer literally will not even give you the high performance cam profile until oil pressure comes up. Honda's own engineers knew this was dangerous, and they designed a lockout to protect you from yourself. And if you drive a Subaru with a turbocharged Boxer engine, this one is critical for you. Cold revving with boost is one of the leading causes of the infamous ringland failure on those engines. Those pistons are strong, but brittle when cold, and one detonation spike from cold revving can crack a ringland. That repair starts around $4,000 for a rebuilt short block. The fix here costs you nothing. Just keep it gentle and stay under 3,000 RPM for the first few minutes. Your engine will thank you with years of extra life. Number 5 is driving hard before your oil is actually up to temperature, and this one is sneaky because it tricks you into thinking you are being careful. Here is the trap. Your coolant temperature gauge climbs off cold within 2 or 3 minutes of driving. You glance down, you see the needle has moved, and your brain says, "Great, the engine is warmed up now. Time to get on it." But it is not warmed up, not where it counts. Your engine oil lags 10 to 15 minutes behind your coolant temperature. The coolant gets warm long before the oil does, and the big metal parts inside the engine take even longer to fully expand to their designed dimensions and seal up properly. So when you see that needle move and then floor it onto the highway on-ramp, your oil is still cold and thick. Your pistons are still slightly out of shape. Your piston rings are not sealing tightly, and your bearings still have too much clearance. And if you have a turbo, that turbo is now spinning up to 150,000 revolutions per minute on oil that is too cold to properly protect it. This is the habit I personally think causes more long-term, invisible wear than almost anything else, precisely because it feels responsible. Every Japanese manufacturer designs their variable valve timing to hold back full performance when the engine is cold, for this exact reason. The engine is literally telling you it is not ready. So listen to it. Drive gently, light throttle, under 3,000 revolutions per minute for the first 5 to 10 minutes of every drive. After that, your oil is warm, your metal has expanded, and the engine is genuinely ready to work as hard as you want. If this is already changing how you think about your morning routine, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I put out videos every single week on the simple, free habits that keep Japanese engines alive for hundreds of thousands of miles. The stuff the dealership has no incentive to ever tell you. Now let's get to the mistakes that are actually destroying engines from the inside, because the next one comes with a $4,000 repair bill. Number 4 is ignoring the cold start noises that are trying to warn you. Not every little sound on startup means disaster, but some of them absolutely do, and I cannot tell you how many people I've talked to who ignored a noise for months and ended up with a repair bill worth more than the car itself. Let me tell you exactly which sounds to take seriously brand by brand. If you own a Toyota with a 3.5 liter V6, and that is the engine in millions of Camrys, Highlanders, RAV4S, Siennas, and several Lexus models. Listen closely on a cold start. If you hear a rattle for 1 to a few seconds right when you fire it up cold, that is the variable valve timing gear. It has lost oil pressure overnight, and it rattles until the oil catches up. Here's why you cannot just ignore it. There is a real Toyota service bulletin on this. Inside that VVT gear are small retainer bolts that can slowly back out over time, and one Toyota specialty shop documented a case where a mild cold start rattle that the owner ignored turned into complete engine failure. The repair on these requires pulling the engine, and owners have been quoted over $4,000. A brief 1-second rattle is livable, but you need to monitor it, use the correct oil, and not let it get worse. Honda owners with the K-Series engine in the Accord, CR-V, and several Acura models, a short rattle on cold start is often the variable timing control actuator. That part was actually redesigned by Honda, and the company issued a service bulletin about it. It will not kill you tomorrow, but over time it wears the timing chain tensioner, and a shop repair runs several hundred to a couple $1,000s. The lesson across every brand is the same. A new noise that appears on cold start is your engine sending you a cheap warning before it sends you an expensive one. Do not turn the radio up to drown it out. Get it looked at while it is still a small number. Number 3 is using the wrong oil viscosity, and this one quietly sabotages everything else you are doing right. Almost every modern Japanese engine from Toyota, Honda, Subaru, Nissan, and Mazda calls for a thin, full synthetic oil, most commonly 0W20. That thin rating is not Toyota being cheap. It is deliberate engineering. These engines are built with incredibly tight bearing clearances, and the oil has to flow instantly through passages narrower than the tip of a ballpoint pen to reach the variable valve timing gear and the upper valve train. This matters most at the cold start, the exact moment we have been talking about in this video. Thicker oil flows more slowly when cold, which means on a freezing morning, the wrong oil takes longer to reach the top of your engine, leaving those parts grinding dry for longer. The wrong viscosity can delay the variable valve timing, trigger a check engine light for a timing fault, and leave your engine unprotected during the most critical seconds of its day. I read about a Toyota owner whose engine sounded like a diesel on cold start until he switched back to the correct 0W20 and the noise vanished. And here's the part that should really get your attention. Using the wrong oil can give the manufacturer a reason to deny a powertrain warranty claim, and that coverage can be worth many thousands of dollars. So do this today. Pop your hood and look at your oil cap. On most Toyotas and Hondas, the exact viscosity is stamped right there on the cap. Use precisely what it says, use full synthetic, and you have removed one more cold start risk for free. Number 2 is short trip driving that is slowly destroying your engine from the inside, and this is one of the most expensive problems I have ever researched, yet most drivers have never even heard of it. If your daily routine is a 5-minute drive to work, a 10-minute trip to the store, a quick run to drop the kids off, you are at serious risk, and here is why. In a modern direct injection engine, during every cold start, the computer runs a rich fuel mixture, and a little bit of raw fuel washes past the piston rings down into your oil. On a normal long drive, that is no problem, because once the oil gets fully hot, that fuel simply evaporates back out and burns off. But if you only ever drive 5 or 10 minutes at a time, the oil never gets hot enough to burn it off. So week after week, month after month, gasoline accumulates in your oil, steadily thinning it out and destroying its ability to protect your engine. The worst offender here is Honda's 1.5-liter turbo in the Civic, CR-V, and Accord. The engine is small and slow to heat up, the oil capacity is tiny, and owners have reported their oil level actually rising above the full mark on the dipstick with a strong smell of gasoline. This became such a widespread problem that Honda extended the warranty on affected models and faced a class action lawsuit over it. Subaru's turbo and Mazda's direct injection engines have shown similar tendencies. The bright spot, and credit where it is due, is Toyota, whose dual injection system is specifically designed to minimize this, and owners consistently report almost no fuel dilution. The fix is beautifully simple and free. At least once a week, take your car on a single drive of 20 minutes or more, ideally on the highway, to get the oil fully hot and burn off that contamination. And change your oil every 5,000 miles, no matter what the maintenance reminder tells you. Because in a life of short trips, that oil is working far harder than the computer assumes. And now, number 1, the single most damaging habit on this entire list, the one I promised you at the start, and the one I would bet you are doing every single morning, believing it is the smart, caring thing to do. It is remote starting your car and letting it idle for 10 or 15 minutes every cold morning. I understand the appeal completely. Nobody wants to climb into a freezing cold car. But think about what this habit actually does, because it combines every single mistake we have already talked about into one daily ritual. You get extended idle, which washes raw fuel down your cylinder walls. You get fuel dilution building up in your oil because the engine is barely producing heat. You get an agonizingly slow warm-up that may never even bring the catalytic converter up to temperature. And you are doing all of it every single morning, day after day, season after season. Oil analysis from drivers who habitually remote, start, and long idle consistently shows elevated wear metals and fuel contamination in their oil compared to drivers who simply start up and drive. You think you are being kind to your car and to yourself. What you are actually doing is subjecting the engine to the worst possible conditions, on purpose, every day. And here's the cruel part. It feels good. The warm cabin feels like care. That is exactly why this habit is so dangerous and so hard to break. So what should you do instead, especially when it is genuinely cold? 2 things. First, if you must use remote start, keep it short, 3 to 5 minutes, just enough to take the bite out of the cabin and start clearing the glass, then get in and drive gently. That is far better than 15 minutes of dead idle. Second, if you live somewhere with truly brutal winters, the best money you will ever spend is around $30 on a block heater. It gently warms the coolant and the oil overnight using a wall outlet, so your engine starts the morning already warm, with none of the fuel washing, oil diluting, converter chilling damage of a long idle. A $30 block heater protects your engine far better than the most expensive remote start ever made. So let me bring this all the way home, because when you stack up everything we just covered, the entire routine actually collapses into something dead simple that takes you no extra time at all. Tomorrow morning, do this. Get in, start the engine, and give it just 30 to 60 seconds while you put on your seatbelt. Set your mirrors and get settled. Then drive away gently, light on the throttle, staying under 3,000 revolutions per minute for the first 5 to 10 minutes until everything is genuinely warm. Skip the long warm-up, skip the cold rev, skip the hard launch, use the right oil, listen for the noises that matter, and once a week take it out for a longer highway. Run to burn off any fuel that has crept into your oil. That is the entire secret. It is free, it takes no extra time, and it is the difference between an engine that quits on you and one that runs past 300,000 miles. Here's the truth. The dealership will never volunteer because there is no profit in it for them. The Japanese built these engines to last almost unimaginably long, but only if you stop fighting the engineering with habits from 40 years ago. Treat those first 60 seconds with a little respect, and a Toyota or a Honda will quietly outlast almost anything else on the road, and probably outlast the loan twice over. If you want to see the specific maintenance items beyond the cold start that keep Japanese engines running past 300,000 miles, I broke all of that down in a separate video you can find on the channel. 23 years under the hood has taught me one simple truth. It is almost never the big dramatic thing that kills an engine. It is the small, quiet habit repeated every single morning. Like the video if it helped you. Drop a comment and tell me which one of these you've been guilty of, because I read them all. Subscribe for more honest, no-nonsense truth about keeping your car alive. Take care of your car, and it will take care of you. I'll see you in the next one.